with regard to justice, I'm not that bothered about that, but I know it's very, very important. I know it's very, very important because, and we must be bothered about it. We should be bothered about it. Because unless there's justice, now I don't mean revenge. I don't mean somebody, somebody being punished. I never ever want to see or hear of anybody else suffering on account of the Miami incident. That is not this. As my wife said at the time, I remember she was only 21 years old, and somebody came to her it was the day I was being taken from Daisy Hill Hospital down south in the ambulance, and somebody came along and said to her, he said, "Don't worry, we'll get the people that did this." And at 21 years of age, this traumatized young girl turned around to that person and said, there's been enough killing, there's been enough people injured and suffering on account of this, and she didn't want to know no more than I did. So the justice is a difficult one, but there must be. We've taken a case, the Miami families, and we've taken a case against the British government, against the chief constable of the PSNI, because we believe that the RUC, their predecessors, acted in concert with them and in collusion with them, and also with the Ministry, against the Ministry of Defence, because of the involvement of FRU, the MI5, the UDR, all of these things, because they armed and supported them and covered it up. All of these things, sure, we're taking a case, but the end result of this justice has to be that. Often people say justice needs to be seen to be done, and it has to be, because it's the system that I'm taking I want to be held account for this. The system, it has to change. It has to change, because if we don't go into the courts, and this is where I suppose we're talking about justice, if we don't go into the courts and show this up for the folly that it is, and show it up for the injustice that it was at the time, because we hear all the time the excuses that they give. Well, we had to make it worse before we make it better, and this was their strategy and all this. End of the day is the British system murdered its own citizens. We had some of our lads were born and bred in the north, and they murdered the citizens. It's an act of war against the citizens of against a neighbouring friendly state. I mean, they attacked the citizens. It's an outrage. And now, as I say, now that we know the identity of the British Army officer, and he was very, very well known, and he certainly was not, under any circumstances, was he a renegade. He was following orders. So all of this, unless you pursue that, and unless you get justice, that to me is justice. But no, I don't want anybody. If that, if the people, and we know there are other people who were never charged, and if they came in here and sat down, I'd have a cup of coffee with them. I wouldn't feel, in any way sort of any kind of ill will to them. In fact, I felt for a long time that, a bit abnormal, because everybody was saying to me, that they would, say nasty things about the people who did it, and I could never feel like that. I could never feel. So I remember when Neil Featherston Haw and I were writing the book in 2007, and we had an opportunity to meet the leadership of the UVF, and I thought, at last, I'm going to face this organisation that we're part of this, and I was hoping that I would feel normal and that I would be able to hate them. And I remember looking at this man. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't dislike this man. I just couldn't dislike him. I see them. It's people wouldn't like us to say it, but they were radicalized. People on both sides were radicalized to the extent that they thought, killing somebody is all right because it's for it's for a cause. Yeah. I don't believe that it's all right to do it, because and this is where TARP is so important. TARP says to people, what TARP does is it says, you know what, you've got a story to tell. It's a very valuable story. There's a platform. Get up there and tell it. I was listening to a program on BBC Radio Ulster. There's a program called Stephen Nolan Show. I listen to it online because it's down south. You can't. It's not or regular. And it's a bit of a bear pit, to be honest with you. You know, the people,
Yes, a lot of shouting.
a lot of shouting at each other. But I was on it myself there a couple of times. Once, I think, I can't remember. But and there was this lady on. I can't remember whether she was nationalist or unionist or Catholic or Protestant. It didn't matter. But she said something that struck me. She told a story about her husband being killed 40 odd years ago. And she said to Stephen Nolan, she said, you know, Stephen, she said, yesterday, she said, before I spoke about my husband on this program, she said, I was nobody and my husband was nobody. Today, I'm somebody and my husband is somebody. And I thought, you know, the Miami, we're a high profile, we're one of the highest profile, especially since the Netflix documentary. I mean, people from, we've, you know, all over the world, we were trending and all over the world within 24 hours of the thing being. But people, we're only one case out of 3,700 killings and tens of thousands, something like 40,000 injuries that happened up there that destroyed people's lives. And they don't get an opportunity. And it is so important, as that lady said, that to be recognized, to be, I mean, you know, this gives us a whole new lease of life. And I hope that I can continue with Eugene Reevey, people of that stature, with people like Joe Campbell, people like Alan McBride, all of those great people that for as long as God gives me breath, that I can do this, because it gives us a sense of worth. I think it's and we hope to set up a peace center, and the people in TARP have been very, very good, and they've said, you know, let's call it the Miami Showband Peace Center, because it personifies the lads were Catholics and Protestants, north, south, without a sectarian bone in their bodies, and to be able to highlight the stories and to tell the stories so that another generation won't be radicalized into doing this.
Yeah, I think what you're describing, Stephen, is kind of, I think, is really beautiful. You know, it's, maybe you could call it restorative justice. You know, it's I think through what you're describing, through your life, the way you're living with the Truth and Reconciliation platform, you very much, I see truth, mercy, justice, peace all over yourself, you know, and I think it's for that reason, I think you are becoming a transformative voice in the country, and we need that, you know, more than ever, I suppose, you know, as we try to rebuild a sense of government here in Northern Ireland and try to make our way back from a kind of the last few years where we've been in a stalemate here.